as a family, then they have neighbors, then you have transporters, suppliers. The whole ecosystem around you is pretty large. If everybody makes sure that you want to work here, you want to do business here, please get yourself vaccinated. It's for your good and for the good of everybody else. And I think this is something that it requires only a little bit of education. Doesn't require too much of persuasion or too much of force or any of that. We should truly just educate our people the benefits of vaccination, and I'm sure we can achieve much better vaccination rates. We've already crossed 80% of the first dose. We are at about 113 crore vaccinations, but the pace needs to pick up quickly so that everybody can be double vaccinated and the country can feel more secure. Your industry, as Madam rightly pointed out, has been at the forefront of innovation, high quality products, design, good recognition in the export markets, in the world markets, possibly the second largest industry today in the world. We should be aspiring to be number one now. But I do feel very, very satisfied when I see that you are aspiring to go to at least $10 billion by 2025. Though it still gives you only a growth rate of about 15-17%. Whereas looking at the potential of all of you and some of the work I saw in Agra, for example, when I visited Agra, met with Mr. Puran Dawar and other stakeholders in Agra, or the work I've seen Akhil do in the last 2 years through the COVID period, or the wonderful work all of your leaders are doing in this sector, I think we can look at even more ambitious targets. And I have on more than one occasion, Akhil Bhai will remember, said that to my mind, your Kolhapuri chappal alone should be fetching you an export market for $1 billion. Just the Kolhapuri chappal alone. And all the wonderful work that happens in Agra and Kanpur, other parts of Uttar Pradesh, some of it happening in and around Delhi. I think all of these are areas where we should be world leaders, we should be dominating the world. And it's very much possible. But if you want my humble advice, and I say this with great humility and after long experience, on both sides, on your side of the table and now in government, that we should try to become more and more self-sufficient. आत्मनिर्भर बनने के लिए हमने प्रयास करना चाहिए. अगर हम सरकार के बलबूते पे बैठे रहेंगे कि सरकार कोई और स्कीम निकाले, जमीन दिलाए, PLI स्कीम निकाले, all of these things in my humble view will hold back your progress. And I'll give you my own experience with the LED bulbs that you see. Some of you may have heard me share my experiences on that. LED bulbs were being sold in India for about 500-600 rupees, 5-6 years ago, 7 years ago. And the government was giving 100 rupees subsidy for every bulb sold. But we had a budget. As per the budget, we had a certain amount of money. And at 100 rupees a bulb, we could only support so many bulbs. And it was a few lakh bulbs, I think maybe 6 lakhs were sold in a year or some such small figure. Because of that, everybody was waiting कि subsidy मिलेगी तब मैं bulb लगाऊंगा. और देश में अभी भी वो पुराने 2014 तक पुराने bulb चलते रहते थे. Whatever they were called, lattu or something. यूपी में तो लट्टू ही बोलते थे मेरे ख्याल से. And those incandescent bulbs were totally energy inefficient. The illumination was poor, hardly lighting up the area very well. And we were burning coal to make power and then provide energy. There was wastage. Each one of us was paying large electricity bills in our factory, in our offices, in our homes. municipal corporations and local bodies were paying large bills for their street lighting. But the sum and substance was we were not willing to engage the LED bulb, which was an economically attractive proposition, because we kept waiting for that 100 rupees subsidy. One of the first decisions we did was to eliminate that subsidy, get rid of that subsidy. And there was quite a lot of trepidation, there was quite a lot of concern in the ministry when I signed that file, or I insisted that we remove that subsidy. This was sometime in 2014, and we had just come into government. But I was very clear in my mind that what's going to impact this sector is scale, is quality, and making a proposition that is so attractive that every user wants to engage with it, rather than trying to drive him towards a 100 rupees subsidy. And ladies and gentlemen, you'll be happy to know that from 600,000 bulbs that were being sold through the government mechanism and through this 100 rupees subsidy, in a year before 2014, in the next 3 or 4 years, the program took off so well that we started selling 600,000 bulbs every single day. What was sold in a year was being sold in a day, with zero subsidy. And I suspect that if today any of you wants to put up an old incandescent bulb, you won't get it in the marketplace. You have to go to some antique store dealer to find an old incandescent bulb. But it happened because everybody was clear now there's no more a subsidy. We increased the scale of procurement. Initially, government did procure the LED bulbs. The illumination was much more than the 60 or 90 watt incandescent bulb used to give us. Even an 8 watt bulb LED was giving the same illumination as a 60 or almost a 90 watt incandescent bulb. And then we moved to 12 watt LED bulbs, to ekdam bauchar ho jati thi roshni. And the prices from 500-600 rupees in the market probably fell to 60 or 70 rupees. At that time, what government was buying pre-taxes and pre-marketing at 310 rupees, government started buying the same bulbs at 38 rupees. That was a dramatic change, and not from some user supplier. Very well reputed companies like Philips and Surya and Crompton Greaves, Havells, I think also, I'm not remembering all the names. Very reputed companies were giving these products, high quality products, at 85% lower prices. Because they got the advantage of large scale, they got the advantage of 130 crore people. So nearly 28, 29, 30 crore families and their homes, all the industry. I remember one industrialist coming to me and I asked him, why aren't you moving into energy efficient lighting in all your factories and plants and offices? He said, oh, we are going to do it. We have a 2-year roadmap in which we are going to invest money. I can share with you the name also. There's nothing confidential in that. He will confirm it to you. It was Mahindra's, and we have a meeting with him later today evening. He's now taken over as the arm that is going to work with the private sector for space technologies. And I shared with him the economics on the back of the envelope. I picked up a paper and I just did some back of the envelope calculations with them and said, why don't you do it in the next 3 months? Your payback will be 3 months of changeover and you will be paid back the entire money. And they'll ask for 6 or 7 years. And he was quite amazed, went back, studied it, implemented it, and then confirmed to me that their payback was probably not 3, maybe 4 months. And they were saving hugely on their electricity consumption. I am sharing this example with you, ladies and gentlemen, only to encourage you to think differently. Go go beyond the typical mindset that we have to be dependent on the government to achieve extraordinary results. Of course, we would love to be a facilitator. We'd love to do whatever maximum we can within the realm of available funds or within the schemes. I'm told we have certain schemes in the industry department where through aside or ties they support common effluent treatment plants or certain common facilities, testing laboratories and all for the clusters that are coming up for leather. We are happy to have BIS set up labs wherever you want. Bring in the most modern testing equipment, whatever you all want, wherever you all want. I can assure you we will have BIS set it up near your factories in as many locations across the country to make your job easier. But whether government should be interfering in your business in every way, right from getting land to setting up facilities or through incentivizing investment, certain sectors probably require it. But I personally think the leather industry, which has done such glorious work in the past, where we have certain unique propositions which India is a leader in, where we have competitive and comparative advantages when compared to the rest of the world, when our designing capabilities are recognized all over the world, when we have artisans, skilled workmen who do wonderful work with leather. To my mind, we should move beyond this old narrative and look at setting newer targets, much bolder targets, see how economies of scale can make a difference. Let's see how design, packaging, branding, better marketing can make a difference. Can quality be the defining factor of our industry so that across the world, if anybody sees a leather product, they should associate it with India. After all, there are many products. You see some very good automobiles, generally would associate it with probably Germany. Or watches, you would generally associate a very high quality watch with Switzerland. And different parts of the country or the world have their own unique selling propositions. To my mind, leather industry can become one such brand which India can boast across the world, where you will have all the Louis Vuittons of the world and the Pradas of the world and the Hermes of the world wanting to get high quality produce made in India. And I think a lot of produce does get made in India, but is sold with high markups across the world through the branding exercise of some of these companies. We need to now look at what we can do to engage with the world in a bigger way. All our award winners today are role models for all of us in terms of what they have been able to achieve. And I was just seeing the list of awardees. Many of the awardees are consistently winning awards. And I'm sure if we go into the detail of their company, they would be largely very, very highly quality conscious. They must be paying their workmen well. They must be meeting all their government obligations of taxes or the workmen benefits, social security and all honesty. They must be running their testing processes very well or having good laboratories in their factories. I'm assuming that maybe the council could do a little bit of study and come up with a paper, because that will encourage everybody else to think differently and think boldly on how to capture larger markets in the world. So, while this may not be exactly what you came here to listen to, I do hope I'll be able to strike a chord somewhere in our industry that let's try and capture the world on our own strength, on our own terms, on our own competence, on our own capabilities. Let us talk to the government for areas where we can really help. For example, the free trade agreements. We are trying to get market access duty-free for our leather industry, and that's one of our prime asks when we are talking to the UAE, when we are talking to UK, to Australia. Now the GCC countries we hope to launch sometime in January or February. All the 6 GCC countries as a whole. The EU, where they have now appointed a chief negotiator, so we'll start the engagement very soon. I do hope Israel also can open up their doors for our leather products. All of these countries, we are looking at talking to them for better market access and better opportunities for your sector. Those are areas where we should work in partnership. Other than that, wherever you have any genuine difficulty, I think all your leaders or captains of your industry will certify that the Ministry of Industry and Commerce, both departments, have been proactive all through the COVID period. There have been probably an overdose of activity between government and your export organizations, Council for Leather Exports. We've been working together to smoothen the edges wherever it was required. But I'm sure working together, we can transcend all these smaller problems that keep cropping up. Look for much larger outcomes. See how we can use our Leather Institute in a much more proactive way to support our industry and our exports. But at the same time, keep the dialogue on, as was referred earlier, whether it's for clusters or parks or other support from the government. We'll certainly keep the dialogue on, we'll see what is possible. But let that not define the success and the future of your industry. Let that only strengthen it. Let that be an addition to your P&L. Your P&L should come out of your quality, out of your scale, out of your skills, out of your own enterprise and entrepreneurial abilities. And I know for a fact that yours is one industry that has no shortage of any of these. I wish all of you well, and congratulations again to all the award winners. Thank you all the jury members for all the effort you have put in selecting all the award winners. A big thank you to all our exporters, all our industry participants from the leather industry for providing lakhs of jobs, for helping us earn foreign exchange, for the wonderful work that you are doing. Keep up this good work. We are really, really proud of you. The nation is proud of you. Thank you very much.
लाल मातीतली कुस्ती म्हणजे